Welcome, everybody, to our second episode of our Sunday Roundtable. We are the West Coast champs. My name is Gordon. This is Nathan, for people who don't know. Today, we're going to be talking about a lot of different sports topics. We have the UFC Fight Night that recently kicked off that we're going to touch on. We have the MLB draft that we're going to discuss. And lastly, we're going to be talking about the NFL schedule and some top games that we got going on. Nathan, you have a little bit more information on that UFC Fight Night. What was going on with that?
So UFC 249 happened on Saturday night, and it was a complete success. The sports world and the UFC could not have asked for a better event to kick back off live sports. They had a great night of fights. One interesting fact was the night before, they did find out that one of their fighters tested positive for COVID. They found out that it had to do with who he was around during his camp, and those people happened to be there. But with the precautions that they had in place, they were able to start treating him, and they got him away from everybody. His team was away from everybody. All the other fighters were completely fine. No one showed any signs they were tested. And they kept on with their precautions, and many sports leagues, government officials, and others were contacting the UFC on how they went about planning this event to help them moving forward and getting people back to work and planning other events. So it was really just a big success in fighting back here against COVID, and a very positive night for everybody. And I'm glad that we started to kick off the sports world again with a nice, big, positive event.
That's good that despite even with the positive coronavirus case to one of the entertainers of the evening, that they were still able to put on a positive
Yeah,
event.
I mean, I think a lot of people were scared because he was at the weigh-in the day before that he might have infected others, but everybody was perfectly fine. And this is only the first one. Remember that, guys. This is only the first live event that they've had. So this process is only going to get better and better, and I think we're going to start seeing more of the other sports leagues adopt some sort of similar process in order to start getting games going.
Yeah, we definitely touched a little bit on that on some of the other leagues that have already been returning as well in our past video. Definitely some good stuff going on. I'm really interested to see how UFC and the other people can keep this going, keep all the COVID stuff under control as they start to open up their leagues back up.
In other news, we found out that the MLB draft is going to happen. However, they changed the amount of rounds from the usual to 5 rounds, which I really don't think is fair. I think we all saw that the NFL draft was a complete success and that it worked. I understand the baseball draft is a lot longer, but it's really not fair to those athletes due to their current circumstances to take their big moments away.
Yeah, it's kind of rough, only because the owners, aren't making any money. They're not only doing it for the health-related reasons, but also because of the money-saving reasons for the owners. I believe I saw a figure round 6 through 10 will save each team $1 million, and a lot of signing bonuses are being deferred over the next 2 years. So while you are going down from 40 rounds to 5, there is an agreement, if you want to put it that way, that there is an unlimited amount of undrafted free agents that teams can sign, but the only maximum salary that they can sign is $20,000. So,
see, and I get it, they're not making money, but let's be honest, people are still buying jerseys. They still have their TV deals that they'll get when they come back. Give these kids their moment. They deserve it. Signing as an undrafted free agent is a lot different than having your name called, whether it's in round 1 or round 40. I think that's really cheap of the owners, and they have the money. They should give these kids their moment.
Yeah, I know that they've been talking about reducing the amount of rounds in a draft for many years. I kind of speculate that they're using coronavirus not necessarily as an excuse, but they're promoting it as a reason to help, achieve that agenda of shortening the draft to, while it might not necessarily be 15 or the amount that they want, it's going to be shorter than 40 going on.
I honestly didn't even think about that, but it's a really good point. You're honestly probably right in that respect, that this is their segue into something of that sort.
All right, and now for the real highlights of not only today's show, but for our whole week. The NFL schedule was released this past week. We finally get to see when we're going to see the big matchups. We already knew who was playing each other, but now we get to see when we actually get to watch these games. I'm excited, and to start right off the season, we got Tom Brady's new Buccaneers versus the Drew Brees-led Saints. Week 1, we get to see that NFC South rivalry kick off with a bang. I'm excited to see what goes on. We get to see who's the NFC's new leader. It's going to be a whole new season with a bunch of new faces and new places, and this is perhaps one of the bigger matchups of the season as well.
I can't even believe, like, this is like Christmas in September. Like, they gave us the best matchup of the year right away. Drew Brees, Tom Brady. We really don't get to see that super often, and now we get to. I mean, week 1, and it's 2 of the greats. And I do think that the one thing that could really cause some issues, mainly on the Bucs side, is how long's training camp, and do we have a training camp? A lot of the Saints players have been there. Bucs players got to start getting used to Tom. As weird as that sounds, it's going to take some time to gel.
Even with the players that have been there, and I'm talking about Gronkowski, he took a whole year off. He still needs to relearn.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be an easy week 1, to say the least. I mean, this is playoff implications right away, week 1, to start taking who's going to win that NFC. And 2 weeks later, in the AFC, we got Chiefs-Ravens. I mean, the NFL just wanted to stack their lineup at the beginning. I think it might be in part to Corona to get some viewers, but I mean, as an NFL fan, we can't complain.
No, I cannot. These might be the 2 best teams, Chiefs and Ravens.
It's one MVP versus the other MVP. I mean, right off the bat, I'd like to think Actually, honestly, I can't even make a pick. I don't know who will win. I think both teams have gotten better. I think both teams have ways to stop the other. I think both teams have ways to beat the other team. And I know that sounds really dumb, but you're talking about the 2 best teams in the AFC. I mean, you got Lamar Jackson, who could arguably be the best athlete in the league, and you have Patrick Mahomes, who could be the next great ever. Could be the best of all time at this point. I mean, he took himself from college, who was probably slightly above average quarterback with a huge arms, and now he is the NFL.
He has an MVP and a Super Bowl MVP. And you know what? I think this is Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes' first matchup. If I'm not mistaken, I don't believe that they played last year. I can't recall that matchup happening.
And the Ravens lost in the playoffs to the Titans, so they never got to match up in both of their probably best seasons.
Yeah, we're gonna see some interesting, good matchups that we didn't get to last year.
We're gonna see a healthy 2 quarterbacks, which I think is key. Mahomes was banged up last year. Lamar, we know he got hit all the time, and both those teams played late into the year. But we're gonna see 2 healthy teams week 3 ready to go at it.
Yes, sir. And another new quarterback matchup that not necessarily new, but one that we rarely get to see: Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. Week 6, Packers versus Bucks. I don't recall the last time. I think they've only played 2 other times. I think it's 1-1. So this will probably be this might be the last time they ever play each other. They're both in the NFC still, but this might be the last time we ever get to see these 2 greats play, and it's tied 1-1.
So I'm going to stir some Packers fans up. You think Aaron Rodgers is still the quarterback week 6? Maybe. I mean, how funny would that be if we finally get our Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady matchup, and Jordan Love is the quarterback? Yeah. Aaron Rodgers just sitting there on the phone talking to the offensive coordinator. No, I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great game. I think the Bucs are going to blow the Packers out, but it'll be fun to see the 2 quarterbacks go at it.
Heck yeah, always. This slate is loaded. I mean, we could continue down the list. Josh Allen versus Russell Wilson, Drew Brees versus Jimmy.
See, week 9, Seahawks at Bills. I don't think people are going to be super excited about that matchup. I am. I think that is going to be one of the best games of the year. I'm not a Josh Allen fan, but he played well, and I think that Bills team is maybe starting to come together now. And it's Russell. I mean, can't hate Russell. And they did lose Jadeveon, but that defense is still going to be out there swarming. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Seahawks got Greg Olsen, correct?
They do, yes. He is a little bit older, but you know what? I still like it.
So Russell's got, I mean, again, I thought they should have gone after a better running back, but you got a slew of wide receivers who are going to come back healthy. You got Will Disley, who's coming off a really, really, really bad injury, but showed he could play last year, and Greg Olsen. So they got options going up against that huge Bills defense, and Pete Carroll's got some time to plan for Josh Allen. So it'll be interesting in that sense. And 49ers Saints, I know your former boy Jimmy G, not my favorite quarterback, but we got essentially the 49ers defense against the Saints offense.
It was a barn burner last year. That game and the Ravens-Niners game, I believe, were the two best games of 2019 season. So a rematch, especially for NFC supremacy at stake, sign me up. I love it. I love that one. There's a couple other intra-conference games as well. Chiefs versus Bucks. And why don't you start it off?
So is this the passing of the guards from Tommy B to Patty Mahomes? I mean, we weren't sure if we were going to see this matchup.
Again.
They gave it to us. So week 12, we'll know what the Bucks are. I mean, we know what we're getting from the Chiefs. Whether or not their defense shows up, who cares? They're going to score 40 points a game. It's going to be high-scoring events. But I think week 12 we'll really start to see what the Bucks got. So it's not going to be. I don't know. Do you think it's going to be a blowout or a close game?
I think it's going to be a close game. You know, they're the two biggest stories of the season. You know, Kansas City is a defending Super Bowl champion. Mahomes will try to lead a repeat. The trip to Tampa to face Brady, who is 2-1 in head-to-head matches against Mahomes, that's going to generate most of the headlines of that matchup. But who knew we would get to see Travis Kelce and Rob Gronkowski on the same field again?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
It's one of those matchups where you're like, it's either going to be like 6-3 somehow, or it's going to be like 48-45. Like, it's going to be either super close because for some reason no one shows up, or everybody shows up and the defenses can't stop.
Let's make a bet right now. We'll guess the score right now.
All right, you go.
Chiefs versus Bucks. I believe the Buccaneers will win by a score of 30-28. What are you thinking?
I think the Bucks win, and it's 45-42.
45-42 Bucks win.
I think no defense shows up at that point.
He thinks it is Rams Chiefs all over again.
Hey, who doesn't want that?
I mean, that was the best regular season game I've ever seen. So
it's gonna be a crazy one. And then week 13, I think it's really the battle of the worst teams in the league, but it's a battle of two of the top rookie quarterbacks in the league. We have Bengals at Dolphins. Mr. Burrow himself against the Alabama man Tua. I'm excited.
You know what? Wasn't this the toilet bowl last year?
And guess what? It still is. But it's whose toilet bowl is cleaner. And I think the Bengals win because I think Joe Burrow is way better quarterback than Tua. But here's Tua's chance to prove us wrong and give a great showing on why he was such a highly touted prospect. And it's a game that we should be excited about and tune into because this is the future of our league besides Mr. Mahomes and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, this is kind of – we already have our young star rookie or young star quarterbacks, the two you mentioned, Baker, Josh Allen. This is kind of like the tail end of the same generation. We're going to have Trevor Lawrence in the same generation as well. These guys, Tua and Joe.
Love already like half the NFL quarterbacks, so –
yeah,
Let's just wait till Trevor comes in, and then we'll see a real rookie quarterback come in and make a difference.
Oh, we'll see Trevor and Bill Belichick.
No. I can't do that. I can't deal with you getting another quarterback because then all I'm going to have to do is see that flag every single day. Guys, I want you to know, Gordon and I were roommates in college, and the Patriots won multiple Super Bowls while we were in college, and all he did was put this flag up no matter where we were at all times, whether it's his car, his room, his house, anywhere I was at, had that flag. But I had the last laugh because the Eagles beat the Patriots. So that's all that matters.
I had the last laugh because we have 6 Super Bowls. So.
Well, guess what? Moving into later in the schedule, weeks 15 through 17, we have all the divisional matchups that everybody is excited for, along with one final interconference matchup. Chiefs at Saints, I think, is going to be another shootout. Great game. 2 teams that have defenses with amazing offenses. And in week 17, a matchup that you were super excited for in Seahawks 49ers.
If you recall last year, the last game of the entire decade was actually the Seahawks and Niners. It was the last game of the regular season as well as the last game of the decade. That was the game where one of the Seahawks players got tackled like this short away from the touchdown, and they earned the 5th seed instead of the 1st seed. So
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Imagine if he had gone that yard, that we probably wouldn't have seen Niners Chiefs Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna, more than likely that will decide a wild card spot or a division winner spot. And the same thing in week 16 with direct implications to my favorite team, Eagles Cowboys. That week 16 or 17 matchup is always the matchup that decides that conference more times than not.
Last year it was.
I'm praying that we're healthy. I'm hoping Carson Wentz is healthy. We're going to need him. The Eagles are going to have to make a move at some point, but I think our team is good enough to make the playoffs. Are we good enough to go deep? I don't know. Cowboys, will Dak Prescott be on the field? Will it be Andy Dalton? It's a game that has a lot of hype around it, and I think even as a non-Eagle or Cowboy fan, you're excited to see that matchup week 16 every year. So the NFL schedule looks like it's going to give us some awesome matchups this year, as it does every year. And we can get excited now as we await the start of the season.
With talks of the NBA coming back, we thought it would be a fun idea to go ahead and simulate what we think would happen if the playoff brackets standing today would go into effect, and we would get the playoffs just based on what's going on today. So I'm going to set up my bracket. You're going to see it on screen right now. I have in the first round the Milwaukee Bucks beating the Orlando Magic. Yeah, huge surprise, everybody knows. I've got Toronto beating the 7th seed Brooklyn Nets. I've got the first upset of my bracket, the 76ers beating the Celtics. And as usual, Miami's going ahead and beating the 5th seeded Indiana Pacers. On the Western Conference side, 1st seed Lakers take care of business. Clippers take care of business against the Mavs. Rockets upset the Nuggets. Young Nuggets team is not going to be formidable enough for Russell Westbrook and James Harden's playoff experience. Utah takes care of business against OKC. In the second round, I've got the Bucks beating the Miami Heat 4-1. I've got the 76ers taking care of business against the defending champion Toronto Raptors. So another second upset in a row for the Sixers, going up there. Yeah, all right, we're getting a little fun. I've got the Lakers beating the Jazz in 4, and I've got the Clips beating the Rockets to reach the conference final against the Lakers. So, Eastern Conference Finals, Milwaukee versus 76ers. I think Giannis goes ahead and gets some early playoff or early success in this series, but ultimately, Joel and Ben Simmons grow up and defeat the Milwaukee Bucks to get to the finals.
You're crazy.
On the other side,
you're absolutely insane.
Oh, you haven't even got there. On the other side, load management Kawhi takes off 3 months due to the coronavirus. He is a superhuman, and he takes down the Lakers in 6 games. Kawhi Leonard takes down the Lakers to go to the finals against the 76ers. I'm not going to say who wins that, but 76ers Clippers, unexpected finals, but you know what? I think it'd be very fun to watch.
All right, I got a little bit of the same sort of bracket. First round Eastern Conference, I got the Bucks taking care of business. I got Toronto taking care of business. Celtics taking care of business, not the 76ers. And my upset, if you want to call it upset, I think the Pacers are going to come out and shut down the Heat. The Heat were super hot, but I think this layoff's going to take an effect, and the Pacers are a team that plays defense hard. And Victor Oladipo can maybe get back into game shape and take over.
Jimmy Butler just blocked you on IG.
Yeah, well, guess what? There's a reason Jimmy Butler has no playoff success. Western Conference, I got Lakers taking care of business. I got the Clippers taking care of business. I also have the Rockets upsetting a Denver team that I just think can't get over that hump in the playoffs. And I have the Jazz taking care of business in their series. I have the Bucks beating the Pacers and the Celtics beating Toronto, setting up a Bucks-Celtics Eastern Conference Finals. And I have the Lakers taking care of business and the Clippers taking care of business in their respective series to go to the Western Conference Finals.
Ooh, got a possible Lakers-Celtics matchup.
That's my matchup.
Oh, that's who it is?
That's my matchup. I think the Celtics, personally, I like the Celtics more than the Bucks. I think the Bucks are an example of what the Warriors were when they just blew teams out and got that record-winning season. But I think the Celtics, with a healthy Kemba, amazing young talent, and a great coach in Brad Stevens, can have a great series and win that. And I think the Lakers take care of business and go back to glory into the finals. And we have a historical series once again.
How could I forget that how could I not think that you weren't going to pick the Celtics with Kemba?
That's just beside the point. I also just don't like the 76ers, and I don't like Giannis. So it's like, I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
There's not really as many top house, I'm thinking of Game of Zones. There's not as many top teams in the Eastern Conference as there is in the Western Conference. It kind of seems the Bucks are really up there, but even they are still kind of unsteady.
Here's the thing. The Bucks are going to win games. The Bucks are a great team. They play defense. They score the basketball. Go find me a series and a clip when Giannis was clutch in the playoffs, and I know people are going to be like, well, he's young. Go find me that. Tell me why it's going to be different against a Celtic team that's also young but has a lot more talent going into the future than that Bucks team. So I think both series are possible except for your 76ers pick, but I definitely think we're going to have fun playoffs here when the NBA comes back. So I'm excited. Welcome to my favorite part of the week, my Salty Sunday segment. And I know this week we really were happy and talking about how all of the leagues could be coming back. We have proposals in the works. We have teams reporting back to their camps and their facilities. But after doing some more research and kind of taking a look at this, look, sports needs to stop messing with all of us. It was brought to my attention by one of my friends, actually Hunter, who those of you know from our last episode, that we didn't talk about the NHL. And I found something about them, and 16 days ago, there was a letter that went out saying teams are going to reach out to their players and they can come back to their training facilities, and that we're hoping to look for a playoff starting in July. This was 16 days ago, ladies and gentlemen. Have any of you heard anything else about the NHL since then? Because I haven't, and I follow everything all the time. So with that being said, we then were like, okay, there's an MLB proposal coming. Let's hear what they have to say. We heard that they maybe want to start a spring training in June, get players acclimated, start a season, have something. We were supposed to hear something at the end of the week, and yet we still have heard nothing. NBA was working on something. Training facilities were supposed to open depending on what state you were in. And guess what? Team said, nope, we're not opening ours. Some said, yes, we're opening ours. This is not a an individual thing. If leagues are going to start doing things to bring back sports, it needs to be unified. So before giving the public this false hope that we're going to start watching sports again and our teams are getting ready, have all of your evidence there to show us. Because now we're sitting here angry again after watching a UFC event that went flawlessly. And I know they found a COVID case, but guess what? They dealt with it. There was no issues. There are ways you can put precautions in and rules, but you got to get everybody on board. Don't give us this false hope about these proposals and when we're going to see this timeline, because they pass and we're sitting here like, guys, where are they? So leagues, let's get our stuff together and get players and coaches and teams back so we can get sports here in the world. With that, that will wrap up episode 2. I had a lot of fun today. Gordon, how are you feeling? You have any last thoughts?
This week we got some good content coming out. We got a bunch of NFL content, and as well as another edition of our grid game, this time MLB edition. So definitely look out in our YouTube channel for that.
Great to hear, and we will keep pumping the content out. And we would like to wish all of you out there a happy Mother's Day. Hope everybody is having a great time and staying safe and healthy. And we will see you this week.